Well, hello, comic book readers, and welcome to a brand new episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
This is a comic book review show here on youtube.com/ComicPop Returns, where you can count on Tiffany and myself talking about the week's worth of comic books that are worth talking about in some fashion. That's not to say that we only talk about the good. Sometimes we talk about the not so good, and I'm excited to talk about those today on today's episode. Of course, this show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, you can edge out the throngs of sponsors that are just champing at the bit to help support this institution, which is to say, there aren't any. So, with your help and your support, we can continue to do this show, all by using Super Chats. Ask a question or comment, we'll read it here on the show, and be part of the show forever. You'll be like the third member of Comic Pop. Of course, we want to thank the chat on the live version of this show for being here, for being respectful, for being cool, and keeping the conversation limited essentially to comics and comic book related media. And of course, that's it. We're also going to talk about the news in the comic book world, and of course, we're going to select out of our reviews which book is Book of the Week. And just to keep things interesting, we're going to have a book of the week for each other, as opposed to us having to unilaterally figure out which is the book of the week. We would never get anything done.
No.
Unless Helena Windhorn came out, in which case we would all agree it was Helena Windhorn.
Yay.
Unless Helena Windhorn came out against Hellblazer.
Right.
So that's all to say. We're talking about the books that came out this past week. We're going to review them and tell you what we thought about them. So before we do that, here's the news. We just last week talked a little bit about the rumored Absolute Batman.
Yeah.
The absolute unit that was Absolute Batman, and all of the conjecture, rumor, speculation, and leaks that came about from the Ashcan edition of Absolute Batman that presumably is coming out in San Diego Comic-Con, which we may or may not be going to. That said, when the episode that we did on it dropped, more information dropped, including pages and panels and proposed creator layouts, and I thought we should take a look a little bit at like some of the creator lists that are coming out of Absolute Comics from DC.
Right.
What creators they are boasting. There were some rumors that Nick Dragotta and Scott Snyder are working together on this Absolute Batman. But let's have a look at some of the other creators that they announced, or didn't announce. There's no announcement. But incidentally, there is also an announcement coming via DC's official Twitter page.
Yes.
Head to DC's YouTube at noon on Wednesday, July 17th for a major announcement from Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson.
Hey, Josh.
So these two are going to be doing a live show on DC's official YouTube channel. Maybe it'll be a virtual announcement that will tell you what you may already know from the leaks about Absolute Comics, or maybe it's something completely else.
Those two are starting their own podcast called All Stars.
Oh my God. Yeah, Scott's like, so I have this great name for a comic book group called Absolute Comics. And Josh's like, well, I've got a great idea for a podcast called All Stars. And just working together to drive us into irrelevancy. But yeah, I'm excited to see what that's all about. That's on Wednesday, the 17th, which will be one day before Josh and I record All Stars.
It'll be one day before?
Yes.
Oh.
So the All Stars episode that will drop in July will be post this big old announcement from Scott and Josh.
That's exciting.
Yeah, maybe I should talk to Josh about. Well, no. You know what? I like to keep it just me and Josh.
Just keep it.
Just keep it
cash,
simple, stupid.
Keep it fun. What?
That's the old expression.
I know.
I actually just texted Josh and I was like, oh, and I sent him that and he goes, I can't even see what that is because he doesn't use Twitter. So I'm gonna send him a screenshot.
Amazing.
But yeah, so what about these creative? What about this scoop that everyone's talking about? What about this scoop?
I mean, here's the thing about this scoop.
Yeah.
In 2 days, we may or may not have answers to it. I might as well just wait to talk, to consider it. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah, no, I don't know anything. I mean, honestly, I always treat this stuff with a grain of salt. I never like to dignify it too much, but I think it'd be interesting at least to look at the creators that we're talking about.
What do they got?
Well, they got Shea Grayson,
Oh, didn't Shay Grayson do
Dark Spaces.
It was one of the ones I was reading, and I literally can't remember the name of it.
I don't think it was Dungeon, was it?
It was not Dungeon.
It was
That was yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeff Lemire, supposedly.
Interesting.
Okay.
Also, okay, so that is interesting, and that could be like an actual like these are the people who are going to be working there, or just like conjecture, because those are two names that Scott has worked with in the past.
Absolutely, it'd be
he and Lemire worked on AD.
Yeah, that's right.
And he and Shay, even though he wasn't working on it, was under his like imprint.
Yeah,
I don't know how that worked over
right, but they still work together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's also Dennis Camp of New Ultimates fame.
Okay.
Yahoni Lindsay, who I follow on Twitter and is a great creator as well. I'm excited to see that.
If it's true.
If it's real. Pornsack Pishesh. I'm sorry. The comic book editor, writer, and film director for editing Sweet Tooth, We Three, The Losers, Testament, and Unwritten.
I think more importantly, they are the writers of The Good Asian.
Yes, that's right.
Among other things like Infidel. Like that's yeah.
Nick Robles, Rafa Sandoval, great artist. I love them. Hayden Sherman,
who worked on Dark Spaces Dungeon. He was the artist on Dark Spaces Dungeon.
Yeah, great call. If it's real.
Yeah.
And
that's what's so interesting about this, because it's like you could see that like as like being more
that's right. I'm sorry, there's two more.
Truthful, because it's like those are people he knows, or you could see that as being like a stretch, because it's like, well, those are people he knows, so yeah, they'll probably work on it. I don't know.
Also Jason Aaron.
Oh, what?
And Kelly Thompson.
I mean, she's over there already, so
yeah, exactly. No, it makes sense. So it's interesting. It's a great lineup. I mean, look, it reads like a podcast fan casting of what you'd like to see a bunch of creators do.
Yes.
All under one imprint.
Yes.
Or it is a stroke of genius, put together by a group of intrepid people who can read the temperature of the room. Who knows?
Well, I guess we'll see.
I know
if we know any more by Wednesday.
We'll find out hopefully on Wednesday.
Okay.
I think. Oh yeah, that's right. They also mentioned Al Ewing, but it's scattered across all these different like scoop websites, because they all want you to go to different websites. It's not just like, oh, if I had one article that had the whole list, then you're only going to one article. If I scattered across multiple articles, then you can go to different places. This is all to get ads. But yeah, so interesting.
Yeah,
interesting idea. If not confirmation of what characters they'd be working on, if they are in fact doing any of these. Right. So who knows? But it's this is. I just don't want people to think that our fingers are far from the pulse of the community. But I also caution our readers and our viewers. I was saying readers because people like to read comic books. That's what we do. But I caution our viewers. Always take these kinds of scoops with a grain of salt and never.
Yeah, and if it turns out to be true,
all the better.
If it turns out to be false, okay, let's see what is
That's
true.
That's okay too. That's okay, because it's all speculation, and anyone who scoops this kind of stuff is not held to any scruple standards or consequences for making these kinds of outlandish claims. So they can just do it again next time. But again, I also like to say always question the official story, because even if it's from trusted sources, because you never know. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what, if anything. Honestly, I mean, them making an announcement online on YouTube on Wednesday before Comic-Con, well, a week before Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Certainly it makes my spider sense go off a little bit, where I'm like, they want to get ahead of it. They want to get ahead of any other leaks, if there are more leaks, or maybe they want to mitigate people's expectations. It could be people are speculating endlessly about this lineup of creators, when in fact they're working on something else that might be more exciting, or exciting because it's actually real, and they don't want people to inflate their expectations or have expectations for something completely different.
Maybe Scott and Josh, instead of having anything to do with this, has something to do with San Diego Comic-Con, where they're like, hey, come to one of our panels where we'll be performing, whatever songs we feel like based on our small band. The All-Stars.
Yeah, the All-Stars. Perhaps Josh and Scott are going to start a jug band. Who knows?
Maybe they play an instrument.
I wouldn't know. Actually, I should know.
I feel like
they
should.
Don't.
Oh.
Here's the thing about people who play instruments.
Yeah.
If they do, you would know.
That's not true. No, there's not
unless
everyone.
It's like unless it's a woodwind instrument, yes. And if they play the saxophone, you might not know. But if they play the guitar, they'll let you know.
I guess.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Ching, chicka, ching. But yeah, so interesting. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I should also hype up the fact that this week on Back Issues, it's exciting. I actually got my wires crossed. I announced this week's episode last week, so that might have caused people to not watch last week's episode for some reason, even though it's the same show every week for the last 10 years. If you're looking for
the other one.
But yeah, so Wolverine versus Apocalypse, The Jungle Adventure came out. Really funny episode, another classic. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But this week, the Ultimate Spider-Man Ultimatum episode is coming out.
Love
but
it.
the following week, special guest host, or rather, officially hosted.
Yeah.
By you.
Yep.
You got to host the show.
I
while
did.
I was visiting family in Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
which is always fun.
It is fun.
It's just like letting the inmates run the asylum.
It really is.
It's just Ethan and Ben just doing whatever.
The inmates running the asylum is you and Ben. When Ethan's not around, the two of you, like, I don't know what it is, but your inhibition level just completely drops. It's like you both like microdose before we do the show.
Me and Ben?
Yeah. Because then the two of you are just like, oh, let's see how many fart sounds I can make in my armpit before I can't anymore. It's things I would never expect from you. And when I'm editing, I'm like, what the hell is this? Especially when I'm on it, where I'm like, what is happening?
We're having a good time.
Yeah.
Ben and I like a good dance party.
Yeah.
You
do. Dance parties only happen when it's just you and Ben.
Yeah.
When Ethan's not around.
Yeah. Yeah. Ethan, I guess.
Cat will play. Or whatever. Mice. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Point is.
Yeah. I'm hosting.
You're hosting. Hooray. Yeah. How many fart gun?
None.
I'm shocked.
None. But there was talk of it, but I think it was before we started recording. We talked about fart guns. I
had to take the retcon or the Redux button away because Ben kept using it. In non-Redux episodes. And I'm like, you need to be sparing with these props. If I whipped out the interdimensional transport wand every episode and didn't use it or used it arbitrarily, people would be tired of it. People would treat it like it's Inspector Space Time.
It's just like, you can't help it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like when it's me, you, and Ethan, I'm usually you're
pretty reserved.
Yeah.
You're actually more reserved, I think.
Well, Ethan's a smart guy. I like to hear
he
what
is a smart guy. Yeah, but that's why I like to lob him a couple of underhanded softballs and see what he reacts to.
Yeah. But we had a lot of fun. It is
evident in the edit.
I literally have no idea whenever I host if it's good. Like Sal will be like, "Was it a good episode?" I'm like, I have no idea.
Well,
it's just the episode happens.
When Ethan goes, "That was a good episode." Which is so.
He did say, and I think he was just being nice because you weren't around, but he did say that this was like one of his top 3 of like the year so far.
What?
Yeah, it was like
That's
that
amazing.
episode. He really liked it, I think.
Well,
but that could have just been because you weren't there. He was just trying to be kind.
It makes me sad. But
why?
No, I'm glad because
it
means I wasn't there. It means
the
top 3. So one of the recipes of the making the top 3 episodes is that Sal is not present.
Maybe it was just he just really liked the book.
He did. He loved it. You could tell. You could see at the end of the episode when I was cutting it together. Like I haven't finished it. I'm about like 30-40 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
But at the end, when it's all over, he's like, "I need to read this. Give it to me."
Yeah, he was like, I need to read the words on this. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
We haven't mentioned it on patreon.com/ComicPop yet, but we will. So I will mention it there. What book it is, you can probably guess. Somebody did already. But not the book itself. But I'm very excited. And I know I'm wasting time. I'm only vamping because I read 2 books. But
what?
But I should say that people who have been a longtime fan of Back Issues might remember a copyrighted character that we can't use anymore. And no, before people speculate, Marvel never sent us a C&D. I was being proactive ahead of I didn't want to get ahead of myself. I was playing with Mogerts, and I really loved Gunthar, this character from the Infinity Union or whatever.
Yes.
Along Came a Spider, Avengers All Came a Spider. And I loved this concept of Gunthar, this like know-it-all character showing up to fact check us. But number 1, I didn't own Gunthar. Number 2, it was hard to do, and it really like ate up processing power to get that stupid thing to pop up. Number 3, I don't like fact checking myself all the time because it's really boring and it's like hard work, and I have to like make sure that I have to get everything ready. And then sometimes it's easier just to cut the damn thing out and make it a short or something. So for that reason and many more, Gunthar went the way of the dodo. But I'm excited to see that a spiritual successor of Gunthar, another character I do not own the copyright on, will be popping up only in this episode, and perhaps episodes that this creator provides information for. I don't think he'd feel comfortable if we put words in his mouth, but if they're his words that are coming out of his mouth, we're going to see a Gunthar-esque return. Yeah, that spiritual success.
Yeah, it was something that like the three of us were joking about, and then it has apparently occurred. So we're excited.
Yep. Again, huge thanks to Tenchi Arts for making this happen.
Yeah, it was I was
providing that.
So cute.
And by the way, the turnaround time was unbelievable. I was like, I had this idea, and he's like, here it is, and I'm like, all right, here's your money.
Yes, good.
Which is how it works.
I hope you all like it, but I don't know. I don't expect it to do well.
No, I mean,
I know it won't.
I mean, you never know. The thing about YouTube is you never know. It could, but we could probably guess.
But more than likely, it's a book you may not have read.
Certainly not.
Like, come on.
No.
But Ethan says one of his top 3 of the year.
Exactly.
So far, filming
one of Ethan's top 3 episodes, a book from one of the big 2 that you've never read.
Probably
more
never
likely.
Read, yeah.
And so keep that in mind. Also watch Tiffany on twitch.tv/ComicPop and youtube.com/ComicPop Plays when she plays video games. All right. So as far as books are concerned,
I read some things.
You read some things. What do we got?
Really quickly, I just want to
let's shotgun a couple.
Yeah, well, if we shotgun a couple, the episode will be over.
Well, all right.
I read Hunger and the Dusk came back.
Yay.
Everybody. I freaking love this book. This is from IDW, from G. Willow Wilson and Chris Wildgoose.
Yes.
By the way, I remembered that whole
off
thing
the top of my
head. Off the top of my head.
Nicely done.
Also took a nap before this show.
So your brain got some rest. You know, that means that you could host this show or your own show.
No.
Which I think I'd like to see someday.
No.
But yes, but we should tell folk if they want to get in on the new era of Hunger in the Dusk. This is Hunger in the Dusk Book 2, number 1.
Yes. Yeah. So here, okay. Can we just talk really quickly about not only how well done this return is, because they took a break. They took not a saga-esque break.
No, they didn't take 6 years off.
No, it was a few months, right? Like I want to say 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And we knew that. It wasn't like it was a surprise, right?
They warned you.
Right. So they're like, here it is. You know, they come back. It's very similar looking cover style. I love this cover style. It looks like a fantasy novel. Good looking stuff, right? Like after the credits page, you immediately get like a 1 page of just like, here is the facts you need to recall. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because that helps trigger some other memories. So you can just kind of go right back into it.
Yep.
And then right before the book starts, they show you the fact that volume 1 is out. And I was like,
God.
IDW is doing it right. They're letting you know, hey, if you pick this up for the first time and you have like book 2 here, volume 1 of Hunger in the Dusk is out and you can get it.
Oh my
Genius.
God.
Loved it. Great marketing.
It's almost like they're a book publisher that wants you to buy their stuff.
It's like they know how to do it. I love it.
Who'd have thought?
Love it. But yeah, listen, like I freaking love this series. You know, I've talked to G. Willow Wilson
herself about it
like twice about this. I'm not just like blowing smoke. I really do love this book. I would read it regardless of talking to her about it. It scratches an itch of like a desire for fantasy.
Yes.
You know, without, because like I like all different types of fantasy, you know, like obviously I've been playing a lot of like getting back into Elden Ring, I love that. And even though like most of the time I'm lost in terms of maybe what's going on in the story, because there's been such a long gap between when I've played, but also just because they hide a lot of it and it is very fantasy in terms of the fact that it's like some high fantasy or fantasy stories get like deep in it.
Yes.
Right. Deep in it to the point where it's like maybe you lose your way a little bit.
Absolutely.
This is like a fully established world that you don't know every single thing about, but you feel super comfortable in it.
Right.
And I
familiar,
love that.
But it's also still distinct.
Exactly. And this issue didn't spend most of its time going like, okay, I better make sure you know what's going on. No, it's just here's the next part of the story, right? It's like, you know, these two characters, you know, like, oops, they had a little bit of a kerfuffle fight kind of thing, right? And it's like, well, what kind of ramifications are that? And like, I love the ramifications of that. I love our main character, like, you know, going through this being like, well, if this person, and then at the end it's like, oh man, I should have done blah. And I love it.
Yeah.
Just good stuff. Also, I love chat right now. If you don't know why someone is yelling Trisha, it's because Trisha, man.
Oh my God.
From Elden Ring. Just Trisha. She is the ultimate group project not leader.
Yeah.
participant
Right.
for sure. But yeah, this book is great. Wild Goose's art is phenomenal. I've missed seeing it. He's such a distinct style.
It's true.
That merges, like, for me, like comic book art and like animation in a way.
Yes.
There's something very kinetic, very energetic about his art.
Mhm.
The colorist who I also spoke with, and I know that one I don't have. That one I'm not ready with.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Well, you talked to the entire creative team.
I did. Miss Massac,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Masasic.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. You know what you need to do? You need to watch the.
I need to watch my own damn interview.
The big interview between the entire creative team and Tiffany, because
yeah, but the coloring is next level. I love it because it's a cohesive world colors without worrying about like, okay, and now when we're in this area is only this. Everything's like a blend. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect match where it almost looks like the artist is doing their own colors just because it's done that well. It really just brings it to life.
Blended well.
Yeah. But I love this book. You know, it always ends on a great like moment, a great like kind of cliffhanger where you're like, I can't wait for the next one. Like for those who haven't had a chance to read this but are interested in it and are grabbing volume 1, I am envious of you because you just get to have it like instead of waiting that month.
It's a whole collected edition,
because it's so much fun. Like I said, you're gonna like just chew it up. It's not like it's short. It's really well paced. A lot of energy in it. But yeah, I was excited to have this. I was really looking forward to reading the first issue of book 2. So hooray!
Yeah, we need to get a copy of Hunger in the Dusk Volume 1.
Yeah,
we don't have the trade. We need to pick that up.
Well, I was reminded, and
yes, exactly.
Tomorrow's Prime Day. Maybe I'll grab it.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. But folks, if by the way, speaking of the fact that it is Prime Day, I do have a link in the chat right now, and it'll be in the comments down below for you to pick up a copy of Volume 1 from us on Amazon. It's just easy.
Is that one of those affiliated?
It is an affiliate link.
You have to tell them.
I know that's true. It is affiliated, and you should know that. But you know, why not? Why shouldn't I make a little bit of scratch off of it? Come on. But also, it's good. We recommend it.
Yeah.
To that end, I should also mention that I did get a chance to look at the Ninja Turtles 40th anniversary edition. Speaking of our like IDW corner here,
the IDW corner.
Yes, exactly. But it was just, you know, like I said, it was a celebration of everything Turtles related. It had so many different creative teams, so many different variant covers, but also so many different like stories and concepts. You got to see like basically every corner of Turtles. If you have a favorite, they were represented, and IDW just nailed it. It was like, you know, because IDW recently famously got they just got the Turtles license back, or not back, but like they upped.
Right.
And they're celebrating it in such a great way where it's like you're getting all the Turtles you can handle.
Yeah.
And they're handling it in such a respectful and exciting way where it just feels like, here you go. Here's the Turtle. If you've been asking for Turtles, here it is. If you haven't been, or if you've been wondering about the Turtles, there's an option for you. This is a good book to have in your collection. This has got a lot of great stories, a lot of great creators, and it turned out to be fun. It was $12, but it was 72 pages for your money.
Tons of Turtles.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I understand $12 a lot.
It is,
but it was 72 pages of art, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know, or comics really. It wasn't art. I mean, art was in there. It had it all, but it was cool.
I love it.
I guess we could talk about this.
What do you got? Because I was going to go into one more that I read that was random. I read Kid Venom this week.
As a recommendation from our chat last week.
Yeah, they were like, check it out. And that is written and drawn by Taigami, manga artist, mangaka.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not familiar with their work necessarily, but I have to tell you, I went into this knowing that they were affiliated with manga.
Yes.
But even if you didn't, reading this, it's that energy.
Yeah.
It gives straight up manga energy without it being a manga. No, not similar. Like
to Ultimate X-Men.
Yeah, Peach Momoko's style very differently. She's definitely doing a fusion. This just really felt very manga.
Yeah.
But in a Western like style.
Yeah, it's colored.
I mean, I guess that is a fusion, but it just felt much more manga. You know? It just that type of energy. Very like shonen feeling in a way. I don't know, like it was just, and it very much dropped you into it in a way that manga does. manga's often like, even if they start off a little slow or whatever, they just drop you into a world.
Yeah.
They're like, here's your world. And we do see that a lot with Western comics, but there's just, for some reason, I have this like association, right or wrong, of it being like, here you are.
Yes.
Deal with it. And
That's
I'm like,
very manga,
oh, okay, yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, of course. I'm here. Yes, sure. At times I will say that there was a couple moments panel wise and like, word balloon wise where like maybe some of the action was a little confusing, but overall I felt like I was able to fairly easily follow the story and the action for not knowing anything that was happening, who these characters were, where we're going with this.
Yeah.
But obviously based on the title, it's like, we're dealing with symbiotes,
symbiotes,
and
Spider-Man.
Spiders. Yeah. This cover for me is interesting because it like semi reflects what's going on in here, but definitely doesn't reflect how like manga it is, in my opinion.
It definitely does not reflect that.
But that's neither here nor there.
That was this needed to stand out on the shelf and sell itself.
Yeah,
that was the cover.
But I really love there's like these like symbiote carnage style monsters in here, and I love them. They're
very manga inspired.
They're very creepy. They're very uncomfortable looking. But it's a world I've never seen. It's a world I've never experienced, and they're much like Peach Momoko, where Peach is like, here are some established characters, or like, here are some concepts, or like, I'm making a different version of that. There is some level of that. It does seem to be a little bit more like, this is just something else going on over here, because there's like one big like kind of like mic drop sort of moment in this where there's like,
well, is this in continuity?
I don't know.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's a whole unique universe.
This whole thing here, we'll get to that.
Okay, I just didn't want to make sure that.
Yeah. But like, our main character seemingly has like the Venom symbiote, and it eats other symbiotes.
Okay,
like it can eat like cartridges in a way. And he's the main character refers to the symbiote as Clinter.
Oh, okay. So
right,
but they don't spell it the same way.
No. But they also like referred to as an oni. It's more like thought of as a demon, that type of thing.
Yeah.
You get a lot of like classic relationships like that. You'll see a lot of times the tropes of manga in this.
Sure.
But like at one point they face like a carnage looking symbiote monster, and there's no host in it. Like typically there would be a host inside and they would try to like get it out, but there isn't, so they can kind of go ham on it, right? But at like the center of the host, they find a Spider-Man mask, but they don't know it's a Spider-Man mask
because they've never seen it before.
They've never seen it before. And I actually, for me, this is like some of the brilliance of this book is not only the fun of like these characters and playing in this world, but like the Spider-Man mask shows up and immediately everybody looking at it's like, is it a purse?
Right.
Is it a bag?
Yeah.
What is it?
So it's almost like it implies this is another universe, and
or
yet
it's
like
definitely another time,
right,
because it's the year 977.
Okay, so they do say what year it is, but that's weird because it's also like it's almost as though the Marvel universe is infecting this original kind of concept or world where it's like maybe at the like. This could have been an OGN or an original universe, but it's made for Marvel, so we're using symbiotes, but they're going to be through the lens, almost like when I pull an Is from the Outback into the real world, it's going to be twisted and changed. But like at the core of it, it's the IP, it's the Spider-Man IP.
Probably. I mean,
it's all about.
I just read this. I didn't read anything about it. I'm going to try to do my due diligence, and learn a little bit about how this came into being. Was this a pitch from Marvel? Was this a pitch by the mangaka? I don't know. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I think I had fun with this. I definitely had fun with this. It's always interesting to see a more like manga styling in your very Western comic book. I can't imagine what that must have been like if you're used to doing mangaka or manga and like, designing pages A for that size, B in that layout of going right to left, to then go like throw it all away. It's just bigger and left to right.
Yeah. Bigger and in color and in left to right.
So yeah, like I said, like I thought it was really brilliant, this concept of the mask showing up, and then like, I don't know what this fabric
and they don't
is. I don't
recognize
understand. Like, take the person and like you have to protect it, protect the bag. And I'm like,
Why? Okay.
Because like think about the shape of it, you
Right.
know, like
No, I mean, why would they protect it? Like, why do they?
well,
Find
because
it important?
they need to show it to someone. They want someone to take a look at it and try to figure out what it is, where it's coming from, that type of thing. So, this was really fun. Not my normal pickup for sure. But that's why you try new things, because I enjoyed this. I do believe it's not very long. It's like I want to say it's like 4 issues, maybe. I'm not sure. So not a big buy-in, but fun. I'm here for it.
Okay. Well, I read Batman and Robin number 11. This, of course, Joshua Williamson. This one with art by Juan Ferreira, who is just going for it. This is
Are there dinosaurs in this one?
Yeah, they go to Dinosaur Island.
I was gonna say there better be. If you're gonna put dinosaurs on your cover,
you better have dinosaurs in your comic book.
Better be.
There
are.
Oh no, absolutely. Okay. And it's a whole new arc, whole new story, whole new concept. It's same idea at the core, which is like Batman is well adjusted and he's hanging out with Damian, and Damian is not like a total monster like everyone else wants to interpret him as, which I also see him as. But Williamson has an affinity for the character and gives him, sympathy and relatability.
Sure.
But yeah, so the concept here is that Bane has gone to Dinosaur Island and basically been like, it's mine now. Like Bane has taken over Dinosaur Island.
I don't think you get to decide that.
Well, no human beings are there, so you put a flag down. I mean, he should have, which would have been cool, but no flag. Instead, he fights.
A Bane flag. It's just a little
logo, his little face. But yeah, in fact, he fights a T-Rex. Bane does, and he punches its lower jaw off. And because he beat the largest predator, he's like, "It's mine!" And so he's like in charge of it. So Batman immediately is like, "Nope," and takes Damian and goes to Dinosaur Island to dethrone Bane. Meanwhile, the Cobra cult is also there, irrespective of Bane. They're gonna try and like steal dinosaurs and do whatever you do to make money. Watch one of those stupid Jurassic Park sequels to find out what they would do with a dinosaur in the.
Well, they're gonna spare no expense.
Naturally,
number one.
They certainly can't because you need to transport dinosaurs. But so Batman and Damian, they have a good rapport. They have a good relationship in this, and so it's fun. But there's also at the core of it this whole trauma, which is that like Bane killed Alfred in front of Damian because Damian made it happen, and obviously that was never supposed to happen, but the Dio. So now it's just trauma, and Alfred will never be back. So we got that whole thing going on. Batman's kind of like, you already had, like, Williamson reads comic books, so he's like, I know that Damian had a cathartic battle with Bane, but not when I'm writing him. So here's another one. And so Batman's like, hey, I know you had a cathartic battle with Bane, so I know that might be at the core of what's going on. And Robin's like, yeah, that's right. So I'm going to fight him again. And they do. But, the Ferreira art is just so action-adventure, delightful. The dinosaurs are just what you want to see in a comic book that promises Dinosaur Island.
I love it.
The fights are great. The character moments are choice. They run into an unexpected character who helps facilitate their transition to Dinosaur Island. It is still a runner-up. I love this issue. It's a really fun arc. If you wanted to like jump on Batman and Robin, this isn't a bad one to start with because it's like, it implies all the crap. Like Damian's in high school and he's dealing with his principal, and his principal's a supervillain, and we created this character named Shush and all this other stuff. But like that's not here. Batman's gonna fight Bane, and so is Robin, and Bane's got dinosaurs. That sounds like all I need from here.
Yeah.
But there's a moment in Batman Universe from Brian Michael Bendis and Nick Darrington where Batman goes to Dinosaur Island with Green Lantern.
Yes.
And Batman's just on a cliff surrounded by dinosaurs. And he's just like, I love dinosaurs.
Batman?
Yep. And Green Lantern says, Batman loves dinosaurs? And he says, I have a giant dinosaur robot in my house.
Oh my gosh. Right. Yes. Yes. Yes, of course.
And I love Batman being like it's not really because of the nature of comic books and good storytelling like Williamson is capable of.
Yeah.
That is implied, but it's nice to see Batman kind of like geek out once in a while. It doesn't really happen in this.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that Batman like looks for an excuse to go to Dinosaur Island. Like, oh shit, is there an adventure in Dinosaur Island?
Let's go. I want to see them.
Dinosaurs are cool because I'm really a stunted 8-year-old.
Yes.
Yes. Dress up. And I think dinosaurs are rad. I also love trucks and cool fast cars, and girls are icky because I'm an 8-year-old. But that's obviously a reductive interpretation of Batman. But like, I do love the idea of Batman like can't help himself. He's like, just like Superman can't help himself with Lois, Batman can't help himself with dinosaurs. It's great, fun issue, but the Ferreira art is just worth the price of it.
Yeah. Yes. So I read something random this week. I thought I could have literally caught up on so many different Blood Hunt books, but then instead what I said was, you know what? read a totally different Blood Hunt book.
Yep.
So I picked up The Incredible Hulk, Blood Hunt #1 this week, by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Danny Earls.
Hey, Danny Earls doing some stuff. That's great.
Yeah. So I thought I would check this out because the description promised body horror, and there was, for sure. I know that they've been dealing a lot with that. I feel like that has kind of become some of the Incredible Hulk's bag. It always has
That's
been,
who
but
the Hulk is in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it just feels like they're just more willing to show it now to play around with that concept on the page as opposed to hinting at it.
Yes.
And so I just thought I would check this out and see what are we dealing with?
Yeah,
here,
what
right?
what is this?
Like, what is this going to be?
I didn't even see Hulk in Blood Hunt. Like in the main Blood Hunt
he's
book.
not there. Like, he's not anywhere near there. He's like on a quest to Vegas. He's like walking.
He's always going to Vegas.
He's got to walk. He's got to do his thing.
Oh, cool.
So
it's like Hulk Grounded, where he's like, I'm going to walk the earth.
Yeah, well, but like, what do I need to know about this, right? Like, I haven't been reading Hulk, but the book does a really nice job of being like, hey, here's what's going on. Like,
here's what you might need to know.
Yeah, like monsters all over the world are hunting the Hulk. Got it. Cool. There's they're trying to use him to awaken the mother of horrors, and I'm like, okay, this does sound like something I want to read. Someone had mentioned that.
Crap, I gotta go back.
Someone had mentioned I might be interested in Hulk. This is the power of these types of books, though, folks.
That's
right?
true.
Like, I'm interested in Blood Hunt. I see this like essentially one shot, and I'm like, maybe I should check it out.
Yeah.
I do, and now I'm like, do I want to read Hulk? Like, that is why they put these books out.
These books work. That's right. You might say, "Oh man, another tie-in! I can't believe it." This is why.
But like, they're banking on one or two people like me going like,
well, as long as
should I be reading Hulk?
Well, it's a smart move to put like a great new rising star artist on the book, but also the guy who's writing Hulk to do the one-off.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could be like, oh, here's a really random Hulk book. Which Marvel's also guilty of, is by being like, here's a tie-in to the main event, and it is written by no one who's doing the main book, or it's starring characters that don't have a book you can transition into. Hey, it would be a great idea if you do that. Like, I was thinking of Damnation. An event that like no one remembers or cares about or likes.
Yeah.
And
people liked it.
Sure.
But not
but they don't remember it. And so it's like, how much did you like it?
Yeah.
But within the pages of Damnation, like, there were a bunch of tie-ins to shit that didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a Cloak and Dagger Damnation book. And I mentioned it only because I was like, I think that's the only way the Cloak and Dagger can exist now, is through tie-ins to events. But man, if you're not gonna like commit to making a Cloak and Dagger book, maybe you could like put in the first or last page an ad for a volume you have available, like Cloak and Dagger Epic Collection #1. Something like that. Just, here you go.
Yes. So in this, we also in this little description, it's like, Hulk had a traveling companion, a teenage runaway by the name of Charlie, who was now been trapped, or like is trapped in a magical figurine. I'm like, it's very D&D.
Sure.
I had a character one time who had a little figurine. I roll and then blah, blah.
Literally just.
I was like, I'm here for it. Yes.
This book just lost me.
What? No, I was like, yes, okay. See, that's the difference. That's why you come to the show. Is like, Sal's like, no, and I'm like, I'll take the rest, I suppose.
Yeah.
Hulk's trying to work to bring them back, right? So it's headed to Vegas. That's where we kind of come in.
Nick Klein normally draws the book too, with Danny Earls.
Oh, I do like Nick Klein.
That's great. They're two great artists. They taste great together.
But like, obviously the world has gone dark now.
Yeah,
so it's like, all right, what's going on? But like, that's why isn't Hulk in the book? Because he's doing this. Let's see what Hulk's doing. That's cool.
Fine. Yeah.
And we get like a little like, in the 50 years ago in the past, right? Here's a thing that occurred. There's a movie set. It's in the West. It's where they shoot a lot of like Western movies or whatever, right? And these guys are hanging out there. This kid comes out of nowhere. He's covered in blood. Oh, but the blood's not his. What's going on? And now it's now, right?
Okay. All right. 50 years ago.
Hulk's wandering around. He's got his little Captain America backpack, which
it's Bruce, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I just want you to understand, when you're thinking when you're picturing this book, you need to understand.
Yes.
He's not green being like, oh man.
With a little backpack, I would pay money for that.
Well, I think that's a commission. We'll have to ask Danny Earls to draw that.
Just like, he's a really big Hulk with like a little tiny backpack.
Does he have a thumb out like in the show, or is he?
No, he's got to be like, just trucking.
Right. Yeah.
Just Hulk trucking with his little backpack.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bruce has his little Captain America backpack, and he's like, "Don't worry, we're on our way to Vegas. We're just gonna stop in this town, see if I can get some food or what have you."
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes, he's like, "Oh, well, this place is pretty run down. It's a saloon." He goes in it. There's someone in there.
Reach for the sky.
There's a snake
It's
in my
Toucan
boot.
Kid.
And there's like someone in the saloon, and he's like, what's up? He's like, oh, explains this used to be a place where we made movies up until recently, and then everything.
Oh, that's fun. So it's a set.
Yeah, it's a set. And then, oh no, like, it got all dark and horrible, and, everybody left, and now we don't make movies here for right now because vampires are occurring elsewhere in the world.
Fair enough.
And he's like, oh, all right. And he's like, yeah, I really like doing it. It was a lot of fun. And inevitably, like, Bruce ends up kind of asking, like, why are you still here? His name's Miguel. He's like, what's your story? And the story is, years ago, I guess 50 years ago, he and his family were crossing the border, right? His mom, his dad, his sister, his brother. And on their journey, the earth like kind of opened up and like these big scary things came out of the ground.
Okay.
Now I immediately thought they were chupacabra, but
I mean, are they little?
No.
Then
but I'm just saying, like, that's where my brain went. But they're just, oh no, it's like kind of vampires, kind of not. They just kind of eat you.
Okay.
They pull them down, and it's like it's got shades of witches, shades of all sorts of like The Descent.
Cool.
For me, I was like, Johnson was really getting me with this book for sure. It's hitting a lot of things, and I'm like,
it's like subterranean horror.
Subterranean horror. You're trapped. We're getting like a deserted town, tiny Captain America backpack, all kinds of things. Really, just
all
firing
all
on
the boxes you didn't know you had.
There it goes. And inevitably, like, while they're like being bitten and consumed, his mom like breaks away and like saves Miguel. Is the only one she can save, and like pushes him out of there. And he flees. He flees for his life.
Flee.
And he ends up just working at the town, at this set.
Yeah.
He like makes new friends and like a new family in a way, but like he never can stop thinking about his family who was like dragged underground.
Who were dragged underground.
And like, he would never go back there because he was afraid.
Yeah,
even though it was like
guilt.
fairly local.
Right.
But he would never move away either for the same reason.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't like that. And he said he could like still hear them.
Yeah.
Like calling him. And like Bruce is like,
I know
even if they're still there,
you don't want to go.
That's not them anymore.
Right.
That's not them. And he's just like, hey, Miguel just goes like, I just want you to know how sorry I am. And Bruce is like, what did you do?
Yeah.
What did you do? And he's like, oh, are they on their way here? Is that? He's like, oh no, they're not on their way here. They are here. Like once it got dark, there was no reason for them to be underground anymore, apparently. So they're here. And so they try to grab Bruce, and he's
like, rah.
Right. Well, no, he doesn't. He's like, he's talking to the Hulk. He's like, hey, Hulk, honey, Hulk, sweetie,
where are you,
babe? Now's the time. I know it's like, it's not just for me. We gotta help Charlie. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. You gotta help me out here. So they just like start ripping Bruce apart. Now
that's classic Hulk. Now that's new classic.
We got very new classic Hulk. So like this is very new to me though.
Sure. So you're like, ah.
I knew there would be body horror in it. We'd already seen some people being consumed, but for me, I was thinking about is it the Hulk? The End? Was I on that one?
Where he's eaten to death by bugs,
right?
Like
but
Prometheus,
right? But that like he can't ever transform back lest Bruce
like die. Yes.
Right.
Well, that's original. Yeah.
Right. So like in my head, I'm like, but isn't he totally screwed now? And I'm like, that rules. This is obviously different rules.
Well, in the original, like where Hulk the End starts, because that's the ending of it. Is that he can't change back because Hulk dies or Bruce dies.
Yeah.
But throughout it, like, once he's attacked by bugs, he then. Bruce is almost killed, but then he hulks out.
Yeah.
And then Hulk is ripped apart and then essentially dies, but stitches himself back together. And then,
Well, the Hulk, I always assume, has some sort of healing factor. I just don't know if it.
Well, Bruce's healing factor is just inevitably he will turn into the Hulk.
Right. But regardless, the art's really great looking. The colors really help this from being over the top. Like they can put a T for teen on this. I think if they went for less fantastical colors, these are very like there's a lot of like bright, a lot of neon happening here.
Man, why didn't they go with the Red Band edition?
I don't know, but I love this idea because it's like this is horrific looking, and this for me harkens back to some classic Danny Ketch Ghost Rider transformations. Like Texture would show you like Danny's face like melting into Ghost Rider,
right?
And in this, it's like it's a very unglamorized iteration of Hulk's transformation.
Yeah.
You know, he's being consumed, and then like out of Bruce's rib cage, the Hulk like emerges. Like, it's like birthed forth.
That's cool, like an alien
in a way. And then like he kind of just also, it's like he like starts to sort of turn inside out, but also doesn't. Also, it's very weird, and I very much enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, like, and Hulk beats the bad guys, and then like, you know, almost has an issue because like Miguel's actual like his family, because there's other ones down there, like, but his mom and like all those show up and they fight, and you know, Miguel's mom asks, like, you know, did he like have a better life?
Oh,
and Hulk
just worth it.
And Hulk goes, "How should I know?" and then kills her.
Yeah,
I was like, wow. But yeah, this is just a one shot. Here it is. This definitely whet my appetite though for this Hulk. I don't know anything more about it, but now I feel like I may have to go back and check some of this out. Again, I know the art won't 100% be this, but I also do like Nick Klein
50% of the time.
Yeah. So, but if this is the type of stuff that Kennedy Johnson is writing, like I might really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that Blood Hunt gifted me this one shot to test the waters. So I'm like,
smart move, smart idea, Marvel. Good call. Good call. Well, I read, this is a book that I was very excited about from the DC Vault. I'm like, is the whole damn thing called this? From the DC Vault, Death in the Family, Robin Lives #1, which, by the way, just call it Batman, Robin Lives. But, you know, just, I know they're not looking for notes and the book's already out, but still. But yeah, Death in the Family, Robin Lives. The idea being it's essentially an Elseworlds book, but they're not calling it that. Instead, I guess the imprint's called From the DC Vault, which... All right, DC. But yeah,
they love a good imprint, and they love canceling.
They do. They love their imprints that they can then render irrelevant. But this is, and of course, never resurrecting the legacy ones that are worth it. But this is basically an alternate history of the classic Batman Death in the Family, which is the, you know, killing of Jason Todd Robin and the subsequent history of Batman. This is a concept where, what if that didn't happen? What if instead Robin did survive? We saw that they were playing with this idea a little bit when the concept first came about in the Batman Death in the Family story arc. They famously or infamously had a 900 number that fans could call in and determine the fate of Jason Todd. So unpopular was he. The editorial at DC thought it'd be a good idea to make it into a kind of like a cash grab / fan interaction.
Yes.
And as a result, you know, Jason's fate was decided, and they released the next issue, which showcased the now iconic death of Jason. Of course, there's a lot of baggage and conjecture around it, like the fact that it was being, you know, manipulated, the fact that like one person used a robocollar, etc.
Yeah.
But the most important thing to take away from that is that Jim Aparo, the original artist on the book, drew both results just in case, because he didn't want to have to do it twice. And so DC just within the calendar year released a reissue of that same issue, but with the different Jim Aparo art, and alternate ending to that issue. So this has been fresh in people's minds, and I just find it interesting because I don't know if there was like a thing, like I don't know if there was like a anniversary of this. You know, I think that Death in the Family happened in like 1988 or 89, so like I can't imagine it being. You know, we're not close to an anniversary for this. But anyway, much in the similar spirit to this, they're like, let's continue to explore this idea.
Right.
Of a classic old Batman story.
So what is this then?
This is just an alternate reality, Elseworlds-esque story. It's the most like a what if DC has ever made. This is what if Robin didn't die in A Death in the Family. That's what this issue is. So if you're thinking about like this concept, if you're reading from the DC Vault, Death in the Family, which by the way is not what this book was called. It was called A Death in the Family. This is called Death in the Family. Robin Lives. Again, no Batman name on the cover. You're missing so much.
But
in
he's
the search.
there.
He's on the cover. He's the main character. But anyway, yeah. So if you see this book, consider it to be basically what if A Death in the Family. That's what this is. So here's the book. And so it's written by DeMatteis. I'd heard a rumor, and I didn't have any confirmation about it, but I'd heard a rumor that, because I was like, Jim Starlin wrote the original story.
Yeah.
Jim Starlin is working today.
Yeah.
Why don't they just ask Jim Starlin to write this? Rumor has it they did, and he basically said no.
Okay.
And then he was annoyed that they asked someone else to do it. And I was like, well, don't say no then, man. I mean, what can I tell you? If that's true at all, which I don't know, and I don't have any confirmation about it, but I mentioned it only because someone commenter will do it anyway. But asking J.M. DeMatteis is a smart move, because DeMatteis understands pathos. And, I don't think I've ever really read much in the way of Batman stories by DeMatteis, although he did write Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, Joker's Going Sane story.
Okay.
And if you read that, that's this is. Not to say that it's, the same story, but it feels just like it.
Right. Okay.
And it's funny because DeMatteis books always feel one foot in contemporary.
Yes.
And another foot in the kind of classic esoteric nature of comics. And so I kind of love that. And that's what this feels like. Like Batman Going Sane felt like a contemporary story you could read today and enjoy.
Yes.
With some legacy feel to it. This feels just like that. So either it feels contemporary and new, or it feels old.
Right.
It walks that line. Having Rick Leonardi draw it, I was like, wow, Rick Leonardi.
Right.
I consider co-creator of Spider-Man 2099, because part of the appeal, part of the success of Spider-Man 2099 was the look, the design, and the look of that book. Spider-Man 2099 doesn't look like any other book from the original run from Peter David. And man, did it look good. That was 30 years ago.
Right.
And as we've discussed, artists, some artists can keep up with it. Some artists have to adapt to just the fact that, like a ball player, they're going to age, not out of it, but
they change.
They're going to age, and it's going to be harder to hold the pencil, to maintain the line. Some of them don't, but in Leonardi's case, he adapted his style, I think, to either suit the tone or to suit the time that he's living in. It doesn't look like 2099. That's the point I'm making is the book doesn't look like what you remember Rick Leonardi's art to look like. If you're like, oh man, I love 2099. Remember, that was 30 years ago, so it's going to look a little different. But I think it still works.
Okay.
It harkens more similarly to a Klaus Janson or like a Dennis Cowan kind of look.
Okay.
So it's a little sketchier, and again, a little more classic, or modern comics modern age. More like 90s, or 80s to 90s. The Leonardi art just works. I don't like his design for the Joker. They went with that whole for some reason. I think post Ledger, post Dark Knight movie.
Yes.
They were like, we gotta go with the makeup. Where he doesn't know where his lips are, so he's just gonna make this whole thing.
Well,
I don't understand.
That is like a clown. A clown always over accentuates the lips.
That's true. But Joker is a clown, but Joker also has a look.
Yeah.
Joker has a design and an iconic nature. They put him in the old costume, but they went with the kind of makeup.
Okay.
Instead of the Jim Aparo long-chinned, red lips, no over-exaggerated makeup.
But I mean, maybe that's part of the reason they decided to do that was probably because they're trying to emphasize the fact that this is not within continuity,
Yes.
This is different.
But they also want to cash in on the fact that it is like the thing you remember.
Sure.
So, you can have it both ways. I'm a stickler.
I know you are.
At the end of the day, that's really what it is. So it was frustrating to read, because I was like, J.M. DeMatteis doing a book about Batman from the 80s today.
Yes.
Is really exciting, and I almost wish that Jim Aparo was here to draw it for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's fine. So the concept is just it doesn't because it's J.M. DeMatteis. He's not just gonna do it like What If, where you're like, well, that's how it worked, but maybe this. No, it starts in media res. Joker has been killed. Presumably, Jason Todd has killed him.
Yep.
And we imply that essentially Joker did his job to Jason as he did in Ethiopia, but he just didn't die. No Superman, no Superboy reality punch, no Lazarus pit, just He didn't die. It took him a long time to get better.
Yeah.
And he has trauma.
Right.
Which James DeMatteis is like, oh, no. Oh, boy. Trauma. I love doing that. In this case, it's great because, like, you know, he's like he was always a punk kid, but now he has like a justification and also this kind of like this deep-seated PTSD from the experience.
Yes.
So he's more obnoxious and he's more he's got more of a chip on his shoulder and he's more resentful. And you know, Batman is trying, but he's also a victim and is not a cuddly character. And so he's difficult with Robin, and he doesn't know how to like extend himself to him. And eventually he like calls up Dick and has Dick try to appeal to him. And Dick and he have a conversation, which seems like it's going well, but people who are going through this kind of or any kind of trauma, you know, it's not going to be solved with a conversation from a person that you kind of resent because you took up the legacy and then whizzed down your leg in Ethiopia. So, you know, it doesn't work out for him. So essentially, Batman calls up a therapist, which DeMatteis.
Wow, what?
Which DeMatteis puts in the book. Like, Batman is very against because, like, if Batman was into therapy, he would not be Batman anymore.
Right.
So he's like, I don't like this. But also, I think he's trying to protect his like family. Like, he's like, I don't know if I can trust them. Plus, it's in 19. I don't know if DeMatteis is like thinking about the stigma of therapy from the perspective of 1989, where it's like, if you ever read a comic book from the 80s to the 90s, if ever there is a character who is trying to provide actual like therapy, couch therapy,
yes,
they are portrayed as a quack. And they are implied to be a grifter.
Okay.
It's just the way that pop culture reacted to mental health in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Look
it's unhealthy and not good.
It's not good and unhealthy, and I don't like it, but I think it's funny because of how wrong they were about how that works. And of course, like, they also saw it as like a threat to their machismo. In this case, Batman's like, against my better judgment and against my instincts, Alfred, you know, the old thin-armed man. He suggested
Alfred's like, okay, we can't have part 2 Batman. All right.
Yeah, we can't get like angrier, more resentful young Batman.
Probably should have just let's just do that now.
Yeah. But also, that's true. Somebody brought up like Batman punches at least 3 failed psychologists on a regular basis. So I can imagine Batman being biased against the the mental health industry.
Right.
Like you guys have been you've contributed to my rogues gallery with your quack degrees. But yes, they get a therapist, and then you realize the whole book is being told from the perspective of the therapist having talked to Jason. And it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. So, you know, there's layers to the book, and obviously I think it's 3 issues. So it's going to get deeper in the weeds. But
I think it's 4.
4, I think you're right. Yeah, usually it's not 3. But Scarecrow. In fact, Scarecrow appears, and Robin, Jason, he's like, you're going to pull me off with some therapist, some quack. Puts on his Robin costume, try and prove to Batman that he can
fine.
And he goes to battle the Scarecrow. Scarecrow hits him with some fear toxin. He immediately sees Joker beating him senselessly again. And Scarecrow's like, oh, you know, actually, I'm a psychiatrist. I can help you out. You seem to be having some problems. Maybe I'll bring you to my house and I'll like do some experiments on you. And you're like, don't go that far. Don't be gross, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, I don't think that Scarecrow is going to like do anything untold to him, but I think the idea is that, you know, he's like, this is the dark side to this concept. But yeah, so Batman intercedes and then rescues him, and, you know, the cops are like, get some help for this poor boy. And it's like, it's just again, anything that DeMatteis writes, like, sometimes it's overly flowery and but there's always a line in there.
Yeah.
That'll get you.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, this guy knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
And
I get you.
There's a moment where Batman's like, you know, the policeman referred to Robin as a boy, and seeing him, and he's like hunched over, and he's like, you know, convulsing, and he's like, he just looks like a little boy, like playing dress up. Like it calls into question everything I've ever done.
Am I a bad person?
Right. I'm a bad father, and I'm a bad man.
No. Everyone.
It's the system that's wrong.
It's the system that's wrong.
No, but Batman's like, no, I need to. But essentially, Batman's like, it's too late for me, but he'll never be Robin again.
Right.
And there'll never be another Robin.
Yeah.
This is dangerous what I'm doing. And I'm like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Especially in that reality. Because, like, but that's what this book is. It's just an exploration of character and trauma and stress. And I'm like, yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's J.M. DeMatteis.
I
What are you
love
gonna
it.
do?
That's
So yeah,
great.
it's good stuff. It's a fun book, but
That is so
yeah.
good.
Yep.
I remembered, by the way, while you were talking, because everyone mentioned Nick Klein, I was like, I like his art. Why?
God Country.
Drifter.
It was Drifter. Who drew? Jeff Shaw.
Jeff Shaw got
Drifter.
Drifter.
Wow.
I remember Nick Klein's art from Drifter.
Yeah,
which I thought was great.
You really like Nick Klein. But yeah, so what else do we read?
I think there's only the
only one left.
The big one left.
That's fine. We got plenty. We got plenty more to do after it. X-Men #1 from Jed MacKay and Ryan Stegman. This is the new era. From the ashes, a new beginning comes X-Men. Here it is.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Hyping it up for a while. We've seen a lot of if you follow Stegman, you might have seen his art all over social media as he was prepping for this. I understand it. I mean, it's a huge deal for him. A big high-profile book, despite the fact that he also did friggin' King in Black and stuff.
Yes, yes.
Huge artist, and I understand why he's on this book.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I understand if I were Tom Brevoort, the editor of the X-Men line post Krakoa.
Yeah.
I think if I were dictating the line and I needed someone to make a splash and to execute my vision for the X-Men,
yeah,
I would pick Ryan Stegman first. Outside of Jim Lee, who was not available.
Right. Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, was that on the table? No.
Probably not. But yeah, but X-Men, Stegman. Let's talk about Stegman's portrayal.
Sure.
Every page is full of action and different distinct characters, and Stegman did what Stegman does best.
Yes.
He had character, he had action, he had and that's what this book is full of.
He made you think of other time periods.
Yes, he evoked time periods while also keeping this grounded in today.
Yeah, I mean, this is a totally subjective opinion. Stegman's art is never usually my favorite,
right?
But that's a personal thing that has nothing to do with his skill and has nothing to do with the quality of his work. I just don't feel a strong connection to the art. Yeah. And in particular, I didn't really love his portrayal of Beast. It was
no, that was
weird.
my only I have two notes, and they're not for Ryan, they're notes about it overall.
Yeah,
which is, I don't like, and it was his decision, as I understand it. His design for Beast is to evoke the old 70s version of Beast from the Avengers, where he had the dark eyes.
It wasn't even that. The dark eyes were. It was
I don't like the dark eyes.
It was just the actual his
physicality,
his
like
face.
how his. Yeah, I don't like his face.
It's just, I don't know. There's it just. And
I know
again,
what he's going for.
Very subjective because it's all, I believe, anatomically correct for the most part. So it's not it's there's a problem with the art. I just didn't really.
Yeah.
Cyclops is super young looking,
and that is Tom Brevoort. Tom Brevoort has said publicly, he's like, Cyclops is in his 20s, just like Peter Parker. They are the same age. And he wants you to know that he's a young guy, but still old enough to drink because he has a beer in the book. And the beer says beer on it. So you know that he's having a beer.
So stupid.
But yeah, he is young. And he looks even younger than that. And I think that's Stegman overcorrecting for a directive from on high that's I am tired of people thinking that Cyclops is in his 30s, which he absolutely is.
Yeah, and he
just
should
like
be.
Peter.
He absolutely should be.
Yeah, no, and he is. He just is, and there's nothing you can do to persuade me otherwise. But overall, it's fun, it's action oriented, it's the whole book is about that.
Yeah,
I don't want to harp too much on Stegman.
No.
I love what he's doing. I love what he does.
I touch on it.
I miss him on Superior Spider-Man. It was so good. I wish he'd stayed on Spider-Man after its transition from Superior to Amazing. I also love Stegman on Renew Your Vows. He did a great job with that book. And he was missed when he wasn't on those two titles. And brilliant artist to pick for Venom and symbiotes in general. Just and if you need him for an event, that's the King in Black looks great.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool, fun, and reminds you of the 90s while also being contemporary. So Jed MacKay is another interesting involvement, because Jed MacKay has written most of your favorite books from Marvel right now: Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, and even Bloodhunt. And we both don't read Avengers because it's just not very good. So what do you think of Jed MacKay's portrayal of X-Men?
So I want you to know, everybody, I went into this going like full on, like I'm not going to just be like comparing
to Krakoa,
to like the opening salvo from
Hawks and Pox.
Yeah, from Hickman to this, because they're just two different concepts. Like you can't, like they're not meant to be. They're all like a lot of the same characters, but it's not meant to be that. So I really just trying to take this on its own, completely separate from there.
Yeah.
And we all know I really like MacKay's work. I obviously have been watching him write Doctor Strange Dead, Clea, see him written or write for a team in terms of Moon Knight, not Avengers, of course, but like for Moon Knight, really balancing those characters. So I kind of had a lot of high hopes going into it for that.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, this first issue to me felt messy.
Yes.
Like really, 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 really messy, where I don't know if it's just maybe editorial asked for there to be certain things. I know this issue is longer, but there was just so many characters, and it felt like he was trying to do so much in so little time that it just came across kind of muddy and just not something that, it wasn't bad necessarily, but it didn't give me the excitement that it clearly wanted to. Like there was a lot of energy in the art, and there was obviously a lot of energy in the writing, but it didn't transfer to me. And I really was like, as I was reading it, I was like, do they even mention Krakoa, right? Like, are we doing that? And someone does. Yeah. It is mentioned. So I'm like, okay, so I am meant to kind of think that this is definitely on the tails of it, because it is.
Yeah.
So it's like, characters like Quentin Quire went through a lot during Krakoa and was a very different person by the end of it. And
now he's not.
Now he's not. You could say that for a lot of the characters.
In fact, all of them.
I mean, Juggernaut seems to keep it.
Pretty much
Magic's
consistent.
Doing her thing.
Maybe even Psylocke, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's harder. She went through a lot.
She didn't really say anything in this book anyway, so it really
No. So, it really comes down to like Cyclops and Quentin for me, and they just felt not 100% off the heels of what just happened.
No.
Along with the Magneto in the room.
Yes.
Magneto for me felt like the most not where he was.
No.
At all.
No, the Magneto, that just felt like it. It felt like they had a pitch for Magneto that was irrespective. It was like, it was like they had a pitch for Magneto pre-Krakoa.
Yeah.
That they pulled out of a drawer after Krakoa was over. That they were like, finally, we can do the idea I had, which was Magneto in the chair.
Right, but what it did feel like to me, which is what I feel like either it was asked of the team or what was presented, because I don't pretend to know what's going on in those writers' room. But like it feels a little more in line with what was happening in X-Men 97, the animated show. Like some of the characterizations, some of the word choices for people, like there are some things that Cyclops says in this, that Scott says, that like I can hear said by the voice actor for the show, and I think that's what they want you to think.
Absolutely.
Beast has been put back to being good Beast. Magneto acts a little bit more like he is in that first, like in that newest season of that show. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like maybe they're trying to steer you that way. And so it's like they really want you to read this almost in like, they want to be able to reference Krakoa, but they want you to be able to read it in a void is what they're almost saying. Like, no, don't pay attention to anything that happened there, even though we're definitely going to reference it and we're building off of that.
And it's in continuity.
And it's in continuity and we're building from that world, but like, don't pay attention to what the characters went through and where they were.
Yeah.
And like I said, like, I'm not saying this was bad.
No.
But it was messy,
like
it was messy. It was very messy to me. And it just didn't highlight the strengths I know that MacKay has at all. Like it made him seem like he was not competent in balancing a team, but I've seen him do it.
Yes.
And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, no. This book, I'll say, is embarrassing.
Oh, okay.
It is embarrassing and a poor show. And it actually hurts everyone involved. Because regardless of any of the strengths that we outlined for Stegman, everyone's going to focus on how weird Cyclops looks, or how odd Beast looks.
Yeah.
That is going to be the prevailing vocal takeaway about the book, regardless of the action sequences or the Frozen Sentinel or their base or any of the amazing action sequences that were portrayed in this book. They're all going to be overshadowed by the weird and very deliberate choice that was not Stegman's decision.
Right.
Although, except for the Beast thing, the eyeshadow, which is the one thing that I don't like about the design for Beast.
Right.
So he is given a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Jed MacKay is Marvel's new golden boy, who is going to write everything. Like, finding out that Joe Kelly's doing a 10-part Spider-Man story that's going to be within Amazing Spider-Man called The 8 Deaths of Peter Parker, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't tell me that Joe Kelly's the writer on Amazing Spider-Man. That tells me that Joe Kelly has a 10-part Spider-Man story, and then they'll have the main writer on Spider-Man, who will probably be Jed MacKay, because Jed MacKay is Marvel's guy now. Regardless of the fact that he is their guy and the fact that he has successfully given you, whether you want to necessarily agree or not, a successful Doctor Strange run. Right. That has featured the death of Doctor Strange, an event with Doctor Strange, an alternate Doctor Strange, and a regular Doctor Strange. Like, 4 different eras of Doctor Strange have been shepherded by Jed MacKay, and they've all sold.
Yeah.
And so Jed MacKay successfully elevated Doctor Strange to a book where maybe you could finally have different creators on them and do some interesting things with the character.
And he's clearly leaving that.
Yeah,
I mean, like, or at least that is ending for sure. But it's like it's that I don't love that.
Yeah, no, it's
for this.
Well, and the fact that he left it for X-Men, which is a smart move.
I get it.
Understand the decision.
Trust me, I understand that. Yeah, I don't pretend to think that Doctor Strange is such a high-profile character that someone would be like, I'm not going to do.
But
X-Men.
You're also like, hey, but your theory, your pitch for Doctor Strange has never been do a 100-issue run, Tom King it up. Like, it more like, no, Doctor Strange should have like seasons, like seasonal Doctor Stranges, or even just original graphic novels. But all to say, Jed MacKay is a great writer, or at the very least, he's a solid writer. Yes. I wouldn't even say he's like a mid-tier or like an okay writer. Like, when he's off, it's good, and when he's on, it's cool. He's not one of my favorite writers. But I have to admit that I do think he's good at what he does. This is so disjointed and so muddy that it makes him look bad. Like, it makes him look like he doesn't know what he's doing. Yes. Which he obviously does. Like, he has successfully done what this book is trying to do. So this book makes him look incompetent. From the meta reading and Tom Brevoort's blog that Brevoort is heavily involved in the editing of this book, and that he's really never edited the X-Men titles. So it makes Tom Brevoort look bad at this. Because this is everyone is at a disadvantage of this book. Everyone is injured by this book. And then, of course, there's the comparison to Krakoa. And whether you rejected the concept out of hand of Krakoa or you loved it, the point of it is Krakoa was successful and it had moments of brilliance. Whether you disagree or not about about like what happened in it does not change the fact that high quality art was achieved. So comparing this to that which they want you to do and yet not want you to do also looks bad. And then there's the other element, which is the Kevin Feige, who is chief creative officer of Marvel Comics somehow. And the fact that X-Men 97 is such success as far as like the cartoon show is concerned. And the fact that Kevin Feige has specifically changed Ms. Marvel in the comics, in Spider-Man, ruined a Spider-Man comic to change and align Ms. Marvel to be more like the MCU version. So you got the synergy that is there, that he's using, that he's using his influence to impart. And so if you're aware of that, that this book might be a casualty of that. And so that makes Kevin Feige look bad. No one looks like a hero in this book unless someone quits the book. Then you're like, I get it. And so, and also, it's the flagship book. It's X-Men, even though there's going to be an Uncanny X-Men book. It's X-Men.
It's the adjectiveless X-Men.
Which means there's other books coming out. There's an X-Force book coming out.
Yeah.
Will people's hype for all the other X-Men books suddenly be diminish as a result of this book's poor showing?
I hope not.
Wolverine leaves the book.
Yeah.
In this book, he's like, I don't even want to be in here. And I'm like, me either.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I was reminded of this. It feels like that's Jed McKay's like almost like silent protest. I know it's not.
No, because Wolverine's supposed to be leaving anyway. Like,
why?
Because I think isn't he in his own book?
Yeah, but Wolverine's been in 5 books and still also on the X-Men.
That's true.
But like, there's a moment actually in the Snyder cut, in the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League that I never noticed or thought about before. It's in the sequence of the opening. I just saw this. Somebody posted it on social media. In the opening sequence of the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League.
Yeah.
There is this like montage of people being depressed and miserable.
Right.
And there's a homeless person who has a cardboard sign.
Mm-hmm.
And as the names of the writers of the new version of the Justice League movie come up, you see his sign. It says, I tried. As if Whedon was saying, like, I couldn't fix this movie.
Wow.
Wolverine going like, I was all in on Krakoa, and I don't think I have the strength. This is like almost verbatim what he says. I don't have the strength to start all over again.
Yes.
And rebuild. So I'm just going to leave.
No, but you're right. Because like Wolverine is in so many titles simultaneously. Like they never care about that.
They never care about that. But today they're like, no.
Well, and again, that's very X-Men animated. Wolverine,
yeah.
I mean, Wolverine leaves all the time, but it's very X-Men animated. Wolverine making a big show of leaving.
That's true.
I have to make a big deal and then leave and then go do something else.
Yes. But what though?
Right.
Outside of like a new book.
Right.
Oh, gee wills. Were you going to launch 2 more Wolverine books?
Yeah.
And that'll be why?
Yeah. No, here's the thing. There's a lot of chat going on in our actual live chat right now. Yeah. And I love that. I love the job being very respectful. I think that's freaking great. Thank you so much for that. I think what Sal and I are saying, just to kind of broadly address some things in there, it has nothing to do with comparing this first issue to all of Hawks and Pox. It's literally the first issue of Hawks.
Yeah.
The first issue of Hawks hit a
friggin' juggernaut.
Yeah, like it came through. It was polished. It was concise. It left you like, regardless of how you felt about it, you felt its impact.
And it told you like what the it rolled out the carpet. It was like, this is where we're going.
Yes.
And whether we even know where we're going, like you can trust that we have directions.
Yes. Additionally, everyone relax. Just because we say we don't like it and you do like it, that doesn't say anything about you, because you are very different from your comics that you read.
Yeah.
So don't worry about that.
No,
just because we don't agree that we aren't doing cartwheels over this book.
Yeah.
If you are,
right,
it's good for you. That's nothing to do about you as a person.
Yep.
So don't worry about that.
Right.
Additionally, for me, like I knew like going into this, I was gonna have to work really hard to not think about Krakoa, obviously, and I'm trying. I very much am going into this not. But the fact is, like, regardless of its connection to Krakoa or not, this just wasn't the tightest book I've ever read. And it's a number one. It's a number one as a flagship book. And I just don't think it was a very well put together comic.
No, it was.
So regardless of being compared to anything else, it's just not super well put together.
That's the thing.
And I know that, like, someone had mentioned that it was like Magneto, it makes sense with how like they ended it with him. Well, let's be honest, in the last like few issues of everything that was going on with Krakoa, I feel like the creative teams there were trying to be kind and trying to make things kind of connect.
Yes.
Even if it didn't make any sense. Because if you see his entire arc, where he is right now in his attitude doesn't make sense.
No.
To me, I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with him in the past few years, and it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But you know, they were doing their best, because a lot of the people who had come before, the old guard, they're team players and they wanted to help out, right? Yeah. But like the fact is, like, just because this issue wasn't good doesn't mean that maybe the next issue won't find its legs, right? Like maybe McKay without a larger issue or like less pressure on it being the first issue and trying to be like, oh, we got to set a tone for everything and we got to make sure everybody knows this and oh, okay, we got to have like quips and this and action and that, and Wolverine's leaving and Magneto's going to show and he's a jerk and this, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the next one will be good.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe the next one will be a stronger showing overall.
Right.
I hope so.
I will never find out. Because I'm good. Like I'm never really a huge X-Men fan. I read quite a bit of Hawks of the Krakoa era because it was easy to jump into different random things. And because I was like getting recommendations. But like I'm good. But I will read more of the other ancillary books. Obviously, X-Force
Sure.
coming out. I want to see where the rest of them are.
Yeah.
I'm going to read Jean Grey, Storm, all that stuff. But like this, I got the temperature read on like the direction and the tone and where they're going with it, and I'm good.
Yeah, I will definitely give this another issue or so. I just want to see, because it's like I like McKay as a writer.
Yeah.
I really do. He made me care about Moon Knight. I don't always agree
He made
with.
you care about another Moon Knight.
Yeah, no, he did. I don't always agree with everything he does with Doctor Strange, but at the end of the day, I recognize, even if I don't love the story necessarily, that it's a well-written comic.
Absolutely.
And that's not what I saw here, and I'm like baffled.
Yeah,
I'm baffled.
Yeah, it's an embarrassing display.
Yeah.
Of like what professionals are capable of.
Yeah.
But Stegman's art does look good. Like Stegman's the only one who doesn't look like an amateur. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so what is the book of the week?
I gotta, like, initially it was gonna be Hunger in the Dusk because yay, it's back. But I gotta tell you, Hulk Blood Hunt made me want to read an entire another series. So I feel like that's my book of the week is Hulk Blood Hunt #1. Really like crazy looking art, really like just like a solid one shot. Solid one shot.
Yeah, I think I gotta give it to from the DC Vault, Death in the Family, Robin Lives.
Wow.
Despite all the issues that are with that title. I think it's just it's a good looking book, and it has a good tone, and I don't know where it's going, and I want to see where it ends up. So
should we do some super chats?
I think we absolutely do. So here we go, folks. This is from those of us who sponsored today's show. Hulkzilla, happy Monday, you guys. Been loving the trailer reactions.
Well,
thank you so much. Glad you dig them. If you haven't already checked them out, you should. We just read Batman or Captain America: Brave New World.
We didn't read it. We watched
it. AKA 480. Love the Benny tribute, Sal. Hope everyone's doing okay. Thank you very much. Yes, we did a whole 2.5 hour long, absolutely Marvel and DC revisit. It was me, it was Andy, it was Hassan, it was Dan, and we all just talked for like 2.5 hours. That episode will go live on the main channel in a couple of days, or not, if not in a week. They're going to cut it a little bit, but it's going to pretty much be a 2.5 hour long special episode. So you can check that out. And then we'll see where we go from there.
I love it.
Cat Lawyer will defend for treats. Do you think titles should go on a small hiatus when a big run ends, both with X-Men and Immortal Hulk? I felt a bit of whiplash with the relaunches. I mean, obviously with Immortal Hulk, I think it was after that. It was the Donny Cates Hulk one with Astronaut.
I do kind of love that idea, but I also understand the business side of it where they're afraid to do that.
You got to dovetail into the next thing. You got to strike while the iron's hot. If you had a good hot run, you got to have another book coming out after that.
I would prefer that. I would prefer like a minute or two or something else or whatever in between.
Yes.
And I think it makes the transition easier and puts people not in a mindset to worry about like compare and contrast and just enjoy the story, or give those teams a little more time to polish what they have.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Crate thumbnail made me wonder your opinion of Juggernaut in general. I've always been a weirdly big fan of him in an on again, off again hero villain kind of way. I never really got. I've never been comfortable with Juggernaut being a hero. But I also hated the time that Colossus had the Juggernaut stuff. Like he looked like an idiot. But when it came to regular like Kane Marco Juggernaut, I like Juggernaut being like an amoral douche.
Yeah.
Whose only love is Black Tom Cassidy. Like I just.
Well, I like what they did with him in the previous era. Like I thought it made sense. Like they made sure to make it make sense.
That's the thing. I didn't feel like Juggernaut's portrayal in the last era and even in this issue, I didn't think it felt weird or incongruous. I just don't. It's just not my Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Your boy Chips Ahoy.
Wait, what about the one above it?
Oh, sorry, Sean D. I'm tired, boss.
I'm sorry.
Your boy Chips Ahoy. Next week, the Boom Studios Power Rangers ends, and man, I'm really gonna miss them. They really were the show I thought I was watching as a kid. Nice.
Oh, I love that. That's like the sign of a really good comic for you. Like something that you like attached to is like when you feel sad about it going away for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Infamous Jedi, because of what Bruce did in Hulkstronaut, Hulk promised to make every transformation as painful as possible for Bruce.
Oh, that's gotta be so much fun though for the artist. The artist has to be like, yes.
I kind of love it. That's really funny.
Oh man, I see someone got their letter printed in one of the most recent issues of Hulk.
Congratulations,
I love
man.
that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Thorn Identity says always hire DeMatteis, always. Right? Knows what he's doing, man.
Definitely.
Sean Conwell, rereading Green Lantern Earth 1. So upset we never got Volume 3. Was hoping to see Mogo and other Lantern Corps. Hope to you do a back issue on Volume 2 soon. I almost did the other day, and I was like, I just need to be more prepared for it. I just wasn't there for it. But I love Volume 1. And I think Volume 2 is cool, so I'll have to do that one. Denial read the first issue of X-Men. A question, Tiffany: did Quire not retain in his development after he got killed by Sabretooth like Gorgon? He does sound he sounds like Roberto or Jubilee from the cartoon.
Yeah, it definitely is feeling like that. Right? Like they're just like
right, because they refer to his like resurrection, so you'd think that he
went through a lot during his time, and like he grew a lot from Hellions to the end.
Yeah. But how about he's a dick again and Magneto can like make a joke about him dying? Bomb. Hello from South Korea. Would you do Inhumans related stories like Backish someday? Because Lockjaw is my favorite pet in comics.
Aww.
I love Lockjaw too, and I think that yes, there's plenty of Inhumans to do, especially during the period when they made him when they made the Inhumans more important than the X-Men. So there's like lots of volumes of Inhumans, but if we did, it would be the Paul Jenkins Inhumans run. So like, no question.
Very nice.
Drew Savage, hey guys, I'm going to my first ever San Diego Comic-Con. Was only able to get a pass for one day. What advice would you give to a rookie who's only there for a day?
Biggest advice would be before you go and check out a list of who's going to be there. If you have personal favorite artists or writers you want to see or meet, find out if they're going to be there, find out where their table is, take a look at the layout of the con floor so you have an idea of where they are and when they're going to be there. And then make your priorities list. Like who's the like one or two people or things you want to do that like that's all you really care about. That's the number one things. Prioritize those first and work your schedule around that. Also pay attention to the fact that if you are looking for certain experiences, they are outside of the con, and try to get a feel for where those are. You don't want to be wandering around just lost, not knowing where you're going, because you're going to lose time on the floor itself. If you have some extra time, walk the whole floor. And then make your decisions about, make a note like, oh, I want to come back to this, or I want to come back to that. And, just, go for a walk here or there beforehand to make sure you're nice and ready to go. If you're not someone who gets out to walk a whole lot. And bring a water bottle. That you can refill.
Also, prioritize. Like if you're going to sample the San Diego's amazing cuisine, maybe do it after the show or before the show. Like eat there. And that way, because the thing is, San Diego is such a fun town, and because you're going to be there for the one day, the town will not die. It's not like your one day is going to be Sunday, where everyone's going to leave. So, like if it's Friday or Saturday, know that the nightlife never doesn't end after the show does. So you can really get all the mileage you can on the inside of the con during the hours when it's happening. There's something happening outside, and you can find out that it's happening. Like maybe the panels happen after the show, like because sometimes the panels will run longer than the show does. Be on the floor for as long as you can if that's your priority.
Make a bit of a schedule for yourself. Again, just with those things that you know you want to do.
But there's a lot of stuff on the outside of the con that you can really enjoy, and don't discount the periphery. Like there's a lot of like meetups and hangouts and after parties happening in the hotels around the area. After the show, when you've exhausted your ability to get in, when they won't let you back in. Go to the hotels and see what's going on there, because there could be D&D games, there could be video game opportunities, there could be just like karaoke and gaming and fun stuff to like just conversation to be had. So your San Diego Comic-Con could start at 7 a.m. and end at like 6 a.m. depending on how much you squeeze out of that day. Danby 900, I didn't like X-Men, where I agree that it is messy and disjointed. Cyclops looking like all new X-Men, young Cyclops is distracting when I know it's not Stegman's fault. It's just a poor start. I don't disagree necessarily. I didn't love the Krakoa era overall, but this wasn't it. I don't expect it to be astonishing X-Men level by Whedon and Cassidy, or uncanny by Gillen March before AVX, but it should
Gillen.
Or Gillen, I'm sorry. Before AVX, but it should have been much better. It felt like they had an idea about where they wanted it to be, and they didn't care who could execute it. Dex Baker, I ran into a member of the population in the wild on Saturday. It felt awesome. That's awesome.
Great. I love that.
I love that too.
That's
man.
So cool.
Yeah, how great. John Ty, the first issue of McKay's X-Men run felt very much like Bendis' Uncanny X-Men, like Scott trying to rebuild post their island being destroyed. Yeah, I mean, the problem also is just like the rebuild. That's why I was not against the idea of like Xavier being in charge and them going either to the mansion or to a tower. My pitch was a tower. Like Avengers Tower, but X Tower. But where they don't have to rebuild. They just move home. Because if your guy is being written, if your X-Men is being written by a person in their 30s or 40s, and you want to talk about a concept like you went out into the world and tried to make it, and then you had to move back in with your parents. that's a generation that understands that concept very well. But yeah,
it.
so
by the way, the area that Sal was talking about is called the Gaslamp District. Definitely go explore. It's great. They love the convention. They run specials. They are often in costume themselves. A lot of fun. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Go to Taco Mama's. What is it?
I don't remember where we went. It was so good though.
Yeah.
So good.
John Ty. Also, I love the Bendis run. I need X-Force Cyclops again. Yeah.
X-Face.
X-Face Cyclops. I never liked the X-Face. I never liked the X-Face, but I understand people's. It's mostly about the attitude. But yeah, as far as recommendations go, I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna look and see if I actually want to read this. But they're doing a Rocketeer book. Rocketeer Breaks Free, #1 from IDW. A Rocketeer book sounds fun. I'm going to take a look at it.
Okay.
Thundercats #6. I'm going to read that as well. Spectacular Spider-Man #5. Hooray. More Peter and Miles. More Humberto Ramos and Greg Weisman. Sounds great. Tom King's Wonder Woman #11 is coming out. It is a absolute power tie-in. It will be written by Tom King, but this time with art by Tony S. Daniels. So it will probably be more of like a tie-in than it will be part of like the main event.
Sure.
Superman #16 from Williamson and Jamal Campbell. Yay, Jamal Campbell back on the book for a minute.
Hey, that's fun.
Can't wait for that. Nightwing #116 from Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo.
That's dead
and
man there.
Batman Superman World's Finest #29.
That's a really fun cover.
Yep. Such a great book, such a great series.
Dang.
This is the Justice League book that everybody's been looking for. You should be reading it if you haven't already.
Obviously I'm going to be reading Ultimate X-Men #5 this week, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. I'm going to try to check out Phoenix #1 as well. Stephanie Phillips on that and see where they're going with that. She's off in space.
Yes.
Cosmic. And then John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America #7 is coming out. Cy Spurrier, Aaron Campbell on that. I believe it was Aaron Campbell doing that issue. In particular. Apparently at some point I'm going to have to catch up on Hulk, which is also coming out with #14 this week. I don't think I'm going to have enough time to read all of that beforehand.
Probably not.
Unfortunately, sorry about that. If you liked Dark Knights of Steel, there's Dark Knights of Steel All Winter #1 will be coming out. The story by Tom Taylor, but it'll be written by Jay Kristoff.
Cool.
So it's promising Viking.
It's giving Viking.
It's giving Viking.
I see there's a Namor book coming out that's launching.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing.
You didn't click it, but that's okay.
I didn't click it. I clicked on the N. I saw an N. I was like, yeah, and it was blue.
Yeah. Alexander Lozano.
It's written by Jason Aaron.
Jason Aaron. Yeah, I'm gonna read this. Jason Aaron's Namor #1. Yeah.
A single character in it. I'm here for that. I'll definitely read that too. Yeah. Don't let me forget.
I will try.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things.
Yes. Dynamite's launching a Powerpuff Girls relaunch. I'm excited to try out Powerpuff Girls #1.
Kelly Thompson
doing the writing. So
what?
I'm down.
That's really nuts. What?
Yeah, I know.
I love it. I love it. See, I'm finding out more things I'm going to read just by talking about them with Sal than I am by just looking through this. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Where's Helena Windhorn?
Right. I know. We just got one. It takes all the draw.
I know. Yeah. But it's gorgeous.
But so we want to thank our sponsors today for sponsoring today's show. And of course, to our chat for being cool. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to check out Tiffany streams on twitch.tv/ComicPop or youtube.com at ComicPop Plays.
Yes.
And of course, check out back issues on youtube.com/ComicPop. And of course, here on this channel, make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell for notifications so you know when we're going live, which is typically on Mondays around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel every Monday. And maybe we'll see you in San Diego. Not sure yet, but
we're figuring it out.
But we'll see you guys next week with another episode. I am Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thanks for watching, everybody. So long, everybody.
Bye.